I'm sorry, I had muted myself. Okay, now we are going to consider or rather as the other aspects of or other features of federalism. We are just continuing with the previous slide where we were discussing about the features of federalism. Now here also we are going to discuss the same thing. Federalism basically has two objectives. Okay, what are these two objectives? To safeguard the unity and integrity of the country, alright. To safeguard the unity and integrity of the country, obviously to ensure that the unity is not hampered and the integrity is not hampered, because see, the unity of a country gets hampered if a person feels insecure, okay. The sense of insecurity which develops within a particular community due to either dominance by the majority community or due to negligence by the government, if these things happen on a very large scale and for a longer period of time, then they eventually lead to conditions that can be as severe as a civil war, as it happened in the case of Sri Lanka. Okay, so it's very important that the unity and integrity of the country is maintained. Now, unity and integrity, if we keep on talking about it, the unity will not be maintained. We have to ensure certain steps. Okay, if we keep on talking, let's say we are India, we are Indians, we should all be united, we should never be challenging each other, we should always be united in our cause. This is not going to help. You have to ensure certain steps so that the unity and integrity is maintained. If you are talking about unity and on one aspect there is a minority community whose rights are always getting challenged, whose lifestyles are always getting challenged, which is always sidelined, which is always ignored, which is always neglected by the government or by the community government, whatever forms of government you have within the country. If a particular community is getting impacted, then there will be a mistrust that will develop, and in due course of time, when this negligence kind of develops, then there will be a civil war like situation as it happened in the case of Sri Lanka. So unity and integrity, so the federalism has these objectives in place. Okay, the purpose of dividing government into different tiers so that it can be effectively managing the entire state or the country or the district is to ensure that the unity and integrity of the country is maintained. How? By acknowledging all the rights that could be availed by a particular community. Okay, so this is one important factor. So safeguard the unity and integrity, that is to accommodate regional diversity. Okay, in a region there could be a huge diversity of people. In India, you talk about diversity, I mean, this is a dimension which has a huge aspect. Okay, you talk about diversity, there are diverse cultures, diverse lifestyles, diverse languages that are spoken. You name it, I mean, there is just no end to it. There is an infinite source of diversity in India. So in order to ensure that none of them feel alienated or left out or neglected, we have to ensure that their rights are also acknowledged. So everybody is fully judged in terms of law, in terms of order, in terms of management, whatever. Okay, so to safeguard unity and integrity and to accommodate regional diversity. How will you accommodate this? Because every region will have its own diversity. People in Maharashtra will have own lifestyle, their feeding habits will be different, there will be a little difference in the thought processes, okay, because they have been brought up in a different culture, in a different environment. People in West Bengal will have a different thought process, different lifestyle. So in order to acknowledge all these things, they have to be particularly accommodated. Okay, and features of federation is actually into this. Okay, now we have something called as courts, as I was discussing prior to this. So the courts add the final verdict on anything whenever there is a dispute that arises between the state and the central because of any issue. See, both the governments at the central and at the state level will try to enhance their level, enhance their strength. Okay, at times what happens is, and most of the times it happens, that the state government is of a different political party, and the central government is of a different political party. So both have different agendas, both have different ideologies, both have different perspectives for welfare of people and for the welfare of the nation. So there is always an ongoing clash of perspectives, ideologies, etc. But this should not be hampering the welfare of the state, and hence the courts are the ones which ensure that there is a proper check and balance. Okay, so they are the ones who can be called as the umpires of the game that is being played, or the referees who will take the final call. Okay, so courts have the power to interpret. They ensure that the conflicts arising due to ideologies of different powers at the state and the central level. So there could be clash of ideology. Every party has got a particular ideology. Every party has certain perspectives in mind. Every party has a thought process in place. Every party will adhere to certain basics of theirs. Okay, so in case there is a conflict, they will ensure that this conflict is resolved in a legal way and a proper way, so that the welfare of the people is not hampered and the constitutional validity is not challenged. Okay, so they ensure that the conflicts arising due to ideologies of different powers of state and central level are not coming to a level of clash where the welfare of citizens is jeopardized. Okay, so the citizens welfare should not be compromised at any cost. Okay, so be it the central level power, the state level power, they might have ideological differences, but because of these ideological differences, the life of the common citizens should not be hampered. Okay, they should not be the ones who face the brunt of this conflict. Okay, and hence the courts have a very important role to play here. Okay, so the courts will ensure that this stability is maintained. The last one, or rather I would say the most important one, every show runs on money. Okay, let's be practical about things. Whenever we are talking about managing a school, managing a institution, managing a state, managing a district, managing a country, there has to be a financial backup. Without money, there is almost nothing that you can implement on. Ideas can be great, but until unless there is food on table, people will not buy your ideas. Okay, if you can give them a standard of life, then they will be maybe implement your ideas or thought processes, whatever you have. Okay, so sources of revenue. See, every government has a source of revenue. Every government has to run the show, whether it's at a state level, district level, or whether it's at a central level. All the governments have to run the show. Now at village level, what could be the expenses? Might be digging up a well, or might be setting up a school, or might be ensuring that farmers are compensated in case of a natural disaster. Let's say floods have happened, or maybe there's a famine like situation which has arisen. So under these circumstances, the common life of people should not be hampered. At the district level, there are more things to be taken care of. There are some tertiary occupations that people are associated with. There are some set of people who are associated with secondary occupation. Transport becomes important. Lifestyle of people becomes important. So all these are there. At the state level, again, more and more things will pile up. At the central level, more and more things will pile up. Okay, so there are different forms of revenue for the government. Revenue comes from the tax that we pay on various things. For example, the various things that we consume, electricity, transport, roads, railways, all these are taxable. All these are facilities that are being provided by the government to us to make our lives easy. Okay, so electricity reaching your house, if you have to generate that electricity, imagine everybody having a power station at their house. It's not possible. Okay. If you have to travel from somewhere, the best option will be maybe trains, because they travel faster, they are cheaper, because all this is coming as a facility to us, a facility which is provided by the state government or the central government, and obviously there is a cost attached to it, and this cost is basically the cost that is the source of revenue. The revenue is basically the tax that we pay at various levels. So there are various taxes that have to be paid. For example, if I talk about property tax, okay, if I purchase a property in a certain state, there is a property tax that is something that I have to pay, and that goes as a revenue for state government. Okay, so there are certain things that I have to pay. Okay, so sources are clearly specified. Now the constitution has clearly specified what will be a source of revenue for state government and what will be a source of revenue for the central government. So all these are clearly bifurcated so that there is no conflict. See, money matters have to be very clear. Within a family, I have seen conflicts happening because of improper distribution of money. So there has to be, when it comes to money, when it comes to revenue, all have to be very specific, and it has to be well defined. what are the powers of collecting revenue for the state government and what are the powers of collecting revenue for the central government. So there shouldn't be any kind of for everything that you want to implement in a state, you cannot be begging around with the center. So obviously the state has to generate its own revenue. So for all the projects that are coming up in the state, it will need revenue, and for that it has to implement certain policies, and these are certain revenues that it is going to collect. Okay. So sources of revenue are clearly specified for each level of government. For each level of government, the sources of revenue, whether it is central or whether it is state or whether it is local self-government, the sources of revenue are very clearly specified. To ensure financial autonomy. Financial autonomy means that we are financially independent, whether it is a local self-government, whether it is a district level government, state level government, or whether it's a central level government, they are financially independent. They can take steps to ensure the welfare of the people, and they can use that revenue to ensure welfare of the people. Okay. So to ensure financial autonomy and financial security, okay, and self-dependency. See, these are factors which are very closely linked to the amount of money each and every level of government will have. So in order to ensure that there is proper self-dependency, financial autonomy, and financial security, the revenue is properly divided, and this is also as per the constitution. Okay, there are certain things for which the state government will collect the revenue from people, and there are certain things which will the tax that we pay, a part of it will go to the central government, a part of it will go to the state government as applicable. There are certain funds which are only meant, for example, if I pay for a ticket by traveling through a local train, this basically accounts for funding to the state government, whereas I pay for a ticket by traveling between different states, then it goes to the central government. So these are different revenue sources for both the types of governments or more than one type of government, so that it is properly and efficiently managed. So these were features of federalism or federal form of government. These are very important. If you can learn them, well and good. If you can make it in your own words, well and good. But please ensure that these points along with their keywords are there in your answers. Whenever you are writing answers in your CBSE papers, it's very important that you adhere to the keywords. If the keywords are missing, see, try and understand, a person who is checking thousands of papers will not have the ability to closely and precisely check each of your sentence. I am not trying to challenge anybody out here, but it's not humanly possible. So the key words that we are trying to use here, for example, words like self-dependency, financial autonomy, regional diversity, unity, integrity, these are certain things that you need to mention in your answers, so that the examiner can gauge, and just finding out those keywords, they can actually check your answers thoroughly. Okay. So ensure that keywords are always there, even if you are putting it in your own words. I would say yes, do go ahead and put it in your own words, but don't miss out on the keywords. The keywords are very essential in framing an answer properly. So features of federalism are very important. If you can learn it by heart, well and good. Otherwise, if you can understand the concept and put it in your own words, do ensure that the keywords are not missing from your answers, right? So I would suggest take a snapshot of this, consult it with the answers that have been provided by your school or from any other book that you are reading, and ensure that the features of federalism are absolutely clear as a concept to you, so that you don't face an hindrance while submitting the same as answers when you are giving your board examinations. All right. We'll continue with federalism for more. You can take a snapshot of the same. Thank you so much for your time today.